Welcome to King Jaja TV. Today we are going to continue from where we stopped last week. The narrow river road at Kufi, often with high foliage sprinkled rough of sunlight, had been the widow's road. Long before Yerimi ever became a widow, this lonely road sloped right in front of the old St. Andrew's church building, through a region of forest hung with tall palm trees and the giant Araba, straight onto the village stream. Lianas twined round the tree along the road and raised their head as they approached the top, like snakes about to strike. The road henceforth meandered through stony pavement and crooked lettered hedge, and was slippery and lacerated with gullies. During rainy season, as it got nearer its destination, several waterfalls on shaky neck had been smashed into pieces along this slippery widow's road, otherwise called the Road of Life by the people of Kufi. It was quite easy to trip here with one's wobbly legs falling wide apart. One could fall flat easily here with one's chest hitting the wet ground, never to be able to get up again until the helping hand of a farmer returning home would come, probably from behind the tall tree by the roadside. To lift one up with a caution, take time, take your time. This road is moody. You know it is a special road, the widow's road. If you flatten your feet on this road, you are in trouble. If you tiptoe on this road, you are doomed. You just must learn to take one step at a time, gently, millimeter by millimeter, like the cautious lift on this road of life. Your eyes firmly fixed on the slippery ground. This is not the road for the short-tempered people, or the self-conceited ones who think highly of themselves. They will falter. They will trip and tumble, especially at dawn. Whenever the morning begins with a wind and the ground is wet with dew, this road is slimy and greasy, short in length and crooked in shape, like the walking stick of an old man. Here on this road, widows were free to raise their voice like birds just released from captivity and returning to the village. It was their habit to sing improvised song of sorrow with their voice quivering with emotion, to drift through the bush before anybody ever met them, and their bare foreheads gleaming in the fading light of the receding sun. Widows of the land were united by the same notion of life and were joined by a common sense of loss, which included the loss of dignity and of status. They shed tears for the same purpose and laughed the same hollow laughter with the tip of their tongues. All the widows were silent for similar reasons and looked very much alike in their garment of black color, which they wore down to the ankle like a harem of religious devotees. They had one voice to speak with, one topic of common interest. Each time they found themselves on this lonely road, their road. 3 widows long before Yerimi had trudged this road and had several issues of interest to discuss. Our hair are matted and unkempt, they began. No necklace and no earrings. The world looks at our elongated necks and chuckles. We are the subjugated people of the world with no hope and no security. We are the subjugated people of the world with no hope and no security. We tread the path of life carefully, warily, and are followed all the time with suspicious gaze. Wicked gossips trail our movements. The beat of the talking drum had filtered into the air. The beat of the talking drum had filtered into the widow's air from a neighboring village, riding on the back of the talkative spirit of the air, and breaking loose among the waving palm fronds with a jarring sound. When last did we dance? The widows had asked, as they listened to the faint, far-away sound of the distant music, filling their ears with joy. For several months now, there has been no music to tickle our nerves, no melody to make our buttocks tremble. But this one coming to us on this road now really is something. The sound of the drum floated in more compellingly. The widows had listened. It seems as if the talking drum would not stop talking. This talkative goat-skin spirit with a rotund white countenance, all dressed up in 100 leather strap. There was the rapid clash of expert fingers on calabashes too, and what sounded like a bolt, quivering twine on the narrow neck of rattle gods, all drifting insombrely towards the three widows through the cool air. Long time since we last danced, they had lamented, and quickly they began to console themselves with words of self-pity and self-assurance. When everything is over and we cast off these black garments, we will dance again. We will dance all sorts of dance. You want to get to know the excitement and joy in wrangling your body rhythmically until you have been deprived of the opportunity to dance. But surely we will dance again, gracefully, elegantly. We will shake our bodies to the sweet song of elopement of secret lovers, and dance the full-chested dance of the dog wading in the font. We will dance the hyphy rock and roll dance of the earthworm twisting on the wet soil. We will dance the hyphy rock and roll dance of the earthworm twisting on the wet soil. Our nimble toys, we would shuffle to the fast-rip cracking chorus of the fountain yam. We will twist our body to the current flowing melody on the lips of the hard-working washermen and the back of the rolling brook. We will dance the hyphy rock and roll dance of earthworm twisting on the wet soil. In the rain, our nimble toy, we would shuffle to the fast rib cracking chorus of the yam pounding village themselves. We will twist our body to the current flowing melody on the lips of the hard-working washermen and the back of the rolling brook. We will dance the seductive, electric dance of the rock cock, wooing mother hen in front of the roasting shed. We will hold our buttocks with our two hands and dance heavily like pregnant women to the slow tempo of the labor room song. Yes, we will dance like market-bound reapers to the sweet syrup of farmland music in the season of a bumper harvest. One can't really dance well wearing this kind of garment, one of the widows had observed. This garment which sticks stubbornly to the body like the ragged robe of a disgraced masquerade. Several times I had been trailed to the farm in this ghostly garment by the village dogs. The dogs must have wondered who I was, and where on earth I came from. They had always escorted me back home from the farm, howling vociferously. One by one, the three widows had returned to their various houses in the village with their water jars, cautiously picking their way through the slippery terrain of the widow's road. But the burdens they carried in their mind were by far heavier than the water-filled jar on their head. The Dewi, for instance, used to cry all night brooding over the humiliation she had suffered at the hand of her husband's relatives. When her husband died, they had sat her down alone by the side of his corpse, which lay on a wooden slab in the inner apartment of a dark room, and had asked her to confess her sin. Confess, 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 they had told her. Ask your husband to have mercy. Kneel down and beg him for forgiveness. What offense have I committed? The Dewi had protested. 1,000 offenses. The people had snapped back, their eyes flashing with deep-seated hatred. The mantle of the fantastic had fallen on the entire village the day the Dewi's husband passed on. The elders had ordered the village men to begin to beat the purification tune on the face of the sacred drum. The heat that came over the Dewi made her blood to gush. Hot air slashed through her flesh and shot straight to her marrow as she beheld the rigid body of her husband. She shrank when she saw the inordinate expansion of his temple and the ghastly pallor of his skin. Her dear husband, those fingers that used to care her during tender moments had completely gone stiff and lifeless. Those eyes that used to flash warning signal out of her in time of impending danger had closed forever. Confessed the Dewi, to avoid the punishment of the heaven. The punishment of heaven come down furiously and mercilessly like burning inferno. The guilty one cannot escape it. Confess the Dewi. To the sin of jealousy and to the sin of adultery, the sin of defamation and disparagement. Haven't you slandered this man several times in the presence of your friends? Did you not at one time plan to deliver him unto his enemies? Those big lies you used to tell against him to spoil his good name. Did you ever give your man a drop of water to quench his thirst in the middle of his Sahara? When he was hungry, did you feed him? They had locked the Dewi up with the corpse of her husband inside the dimly lit room. Her wailing was monotonous, long drawn and heart-rending, but she had remained undaunted because she knew she was innocent. Payoyin, the second widow, was given libation to lick when her own husband died. They held it firmly to her lips to purge her of all the sins they insisted she too had committed. The dirge of Payoyin's husband rose in the air, spreading sorrow all through the neighborhood. The villagers buried their faces in their hands and cried in anguish. The villagers buried their faces with their hands and cried in anguish. Payoyin was brought before the mourners, who sat with dark brooding faces, looking lost and unhappy. The people, out of hatred for her, went beyond the dictate of their culture. They sprinkled cold water on her head. To soften the texture of her hair. A barber was summoned, who quickly set to business. The barber propped Payoyin's head between his teeth, clenched his teeth, and began scraping away with a sharp crocodile-nested blade. Cut the hair down to the roots, they had told the barber. Even if the skin on the head has to be bruised in the process, bruise it, for goodness sake. We hope your razor is sharp enough to do the job the way we want it done. Cut this woman's hair totally down to her scalp. Sprinkle her head with wood ash and oil it with paraffin ointment. Payoyin's appearance had altered terribly by the time the barber finished cutting her hair. Now she was completely lost to the world, with the far away and long ago look of a mad woman in the course of prolonged weeping. Payoyin had lost her voice. When Redeke's own husband died, she knelt before the dead body, and strings of dirge ran out of her dry throat. When Redeke's own husband died, she knelt before the dead body, and strings of dirge ran out of her dry throat. Redeke sang the widow's traditional song of innocence and lamentation. If heaven was like going to the market in the morning and returning home in the evening, I would have followed my husband and run errand for him, urge him on and on, to let him know that it would never be out of sight, out of mind. Lie! The people were infuriated. Bloody liar! Going to hell! They cast the woman they thought was the killer of Redike's husband. All through, Ayn Redike herself suspiciously. Darkness never ends for the rodent entrapped inside a calabash container. Forever the killer will be hungry and be perpetually in debt. She will owe the butcher at abattoir and owe the salt seller in the market. She will be ridiculed in public places like a lunatic. She will be ridiculed in public places like a lunatic, like a ram caught in the teeth. She will remain immovable, not progressing, not retrogressing, just waiting confused at the crossroad of life. The end of chapter 3. Don't forget to subscribe my channel for more upcoming chapters. Happy reading.